Welcome back to the channel Valuable Coins HD, everyone. If you're a coin collector or just someone who loves discovering hidden treasures, today's video is going to blow your mind. We're going to take a deep dive into one of the most fascinating and valuable coins in American history, the 1953 Lincoln Wheat Penny. Now, you might be thinking, it's just a penny, how much could it really be worth? Well, hold on to your seats because by the end of this video, you'll be amazed by just how much this little piece of history could fetch on the market. You won't believe the value of this coin when it's in pristine condition, so let's explore why the 1953 Lincoln Wheat Penny is such a sought-after collectible. First, let's talk about the background of the 1953 penny. The Lincoln Wheat Penny design had been in circulation since 1909, and by the early 1950s, it was already an iconic piece of American currency. The front of the penny, of course, features the portrait of President Abraham Lincoln, one of the most beloved and influential leaders in U.S. history. On the reverse side, you'll find the two stalks of wheat, a symbol of the nation's agricultural roots and prosperity. But 1953 was a unique year because it marked a time of transition. This would be one of the last years that the classic wheat design would appear before it was replaced by the Lincoln Memorial design in 1959. So, the 1953 Lincoln Wheat Penny is a coin that represents the tail end of an era in American coinage. Now, here's the interesting part. Even though the 1953 Lincoln Wheat Penny was produced in large quantities, it is far from just another common coin. Over time, the number of well-preserved 1953 pennies has dwindled, which is what makes them so valuable today. Most of these pennies were used in daily transactions, spent on everything from candy bars to bus fares, which means that the majority of them have been heavily worn. But the key to a valuable coin is condition, and if you happen to have one of these pennies in excellent, uncirculated condition, then you're in for a real treat. Coins in mint state, meaning they've never been in circulation and are in perfect or near perfect condition, are incredibly rare, especially when it comes to older coins like the 1953 Lincoln Wheat Penny. The more pristine the coin, the more valuable it is. If you happen to have a 1953 penny that has been carefully stored, kept away from the wear and tear of everyday handling, it could be worth significantly more than face value. One thing that collectors are particularly interested in is the mint mark. In 1953, the U.S. Mint produced pennies in 3 different locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The mint mark on your 1953 penny can tell you where it was struck, and this can have a big impact on its value. Pennies struck in San Francisco and Denver are generally more sought after than those produced in Philadelphia, making those particular coins more valuable. So, if you find a 1953 penny with a D for Denver or an S for San Francisco, you're looking at a more rare and valuable piece than one with no mint mark. Let's also not forget about error coins. These are coins that were produced with some kind of mistake during the minting process, whether it's a double die, an off-center strike, or a misaligned design. Error coins are incredibly valuable because they're unique and can't be reproduced. Collectors are constantly on the lookout for these rare mistakes, and if you happen to have a 1953 Lincoln Wheat Penny with an error, it could be worth even more than a standard penny in mint condition. Now, we've talked a lot about what makes this coin valuable, but let's get down to the nitty-gritty. How much is the 1953 Lincoln Wheat Penny actually worth? If you have a 1953 penny in uncirculated condition with a rare mint mark, you could be holding on to a small fortune. But wait, it gets even better. Depending on the coin's condition and rarity, some 1953 pennies have been known to fetch an impressive $74,000. Yes, you heard that right. $74,000 for a single penny. It's mind-blowing, isn't it? But it's true. Coins from this era, especially in great condition or with rare mint marks, can command incredibly high prices in the market. So, before you dismiss that old penny you found in a jar or under your couch cushions, take a closer look. You might just be holding on to something worth a small fortune. If you're wondering how to figure out if your 1953 Lincoln Wheat Penny is worth a significant amount, the first step is to examine its condition. Is it well preserved with sharp details, minimal wear, and a nice, clean finish? That's a good sign. If the coin looks well worn or scratched, its value will naturally be lower. But don't worry, if your penny isn't in perfect condition, it might still be worth more than its face value. Even coins in good or fine condition can still fetch a decent amount from collectors, especially if they have rare mint marks or unique features. If you're serious about knowing exactly how much your 1953 penny is worth, it's a good idea to get it graded by a professional. Coin grading companies like the Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, or the Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, NGC, can give you an accurate assessment of your coin's grade, which will help determine its market value. Once you get that grade, you'll know exactly what your penny is worth. So, there you have it, this unassuming little penny from 1953 could be worth a whole lot more than you thought. If you're lucky enough to have one of these rare coins in excellent condition, or even better, with a rare mint mark or error, you could be sitting on a valuable piece of American history. $74,000 for a single penny, it's hard to believe, but it's true. Coin collecting has never been more thrilling, and who knows, your next great find might be sitting right under your nose. Today, we're diving into a coin that may just be sitting in your pocket or collecting dust in an old jar, completely unnoticed. But what if I told you that your everyday penny from 1957 could be worth a small fortune? It's not just any penny, this is the 1957 Lincoln Wheat penny, and if you've got one in good condition, you might be holding on to something that could be worth thousands of dollars. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll see why this penny is not as common as you might think and why it's worth checking your collection. You won't believe the jaw-dropping value of this coin. Let's step back in time for a moment. The year is 1957, and the world is going through massive changes. In the United States, the economy is in a post-World War II boom, and the Cold War is beginning to escalate. But amidst all the historical events of that year, the U.S. Mint was hard at work producing one of the most iconic coins in American history, the Lincoln Wheat penny. These pennies were first introduced in 1909 and were in circulation for several decades before the design was changed to the Lincoln Memorial design in 1959. That makes the 1957 Lincoln Wheat penny a piece of American history, representing the tail end of an era in U.S. currency. The penny features Abraham Lincoln's portrait on the front, and on the reverse side, we see two stalks of wheat. The wheat design was used for nearly half a century and was meant to honor the agricultural roots of the United States. It's a design that speaks to the country's hardworking farmers and symbolizes the strength and unity of the American people. But as we moved toward the end of the 1950s, the U.S. Mint decided it was time to update the reverse design, and the wheat stalks were replaced with the iconic Lincoln Memorial. So, the 1957 penny is one of the last examples of the Lincoln Wheat design before it was phased out. So, what makes this particular coin stand out? Well, if you think about it, 1957 is a pretty long time ago, and many of these pennies have been worn out or damaged over the years. Most of the 1957 pennies that were minted were spent in everyday transactions and passed through countless hands. Over time, they've become scratched, bent, or tarnished. That's why finding a 1957 penny in excellent, uncirculated condition is so rare, and so valuable. Now, let's talk about the condition of the coin. The value of any collectible coin depends on its condition, and this penny is no exception. If you have a 1957 Lincoln Wheat penny that's still in excellent condition, one that's free of scratches, discoloration, and any noticeable wear, it could be worth far more than just 1-cent coins that have been carefully stored and protected from the elements are often referred to as uncirculated or mint state, and these are the ones collectors are after. But it doesn't just stop with the condition of the coin. The mint mark is another factor that can influence the value of your 1957 Lincoln Wheat penny. In 1957, pennies were minted in 3 locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The pennies struck in Philadelphia generally do not have a mint mark, while the coins struck in Denver have a D, and those struck in San Francisco have an S. Pennies with the S mint mark, in particular, are much rarer and more valuable, so if you happen to have a 1957 penny with an S, it's definitely worth taking a closer look. Now, let's take a moment to talk about error coins. These are coins that have been produced with mistakes during the minting process, which makes them even more valuable to collectors. Some 1957 Lincoln wheat pennies have errors, like double strikes, off-center strikes, or even coins with design variations. These types of errors are highly sought after by collectors because they're unique and hard to find. If you have a 1957 penny with an error, it could be worth a lot more than you ever imagined. So, what exactly makes this coin so valuable? How much is it really worth? If you're sitting on a 1957 Lincoln wheat penny in pristine, uncirculated condition, especially if it has a rare mint mark or even an error, you could be holding on to something truly valuable. $70,000 for a single penny. That's right, $70,000. It's an incredible price for a coin that was once just a small part of everyday change. But with the right condition and rarity, this penny is worth more than most people would ever guess. Now, you might be wondering, how do I know if my 1957 penny is worth that much? The best way to find out is to grade the coin. Coin grading is a process where experts examine the condition of the coin, assigning it a grade based on how well preserved it is. Coins that are in mint state or near perfect condition are graded higher, and those coins can fetch top dollar in the market. If you're not sure about the grade of your coin, it's a good idea to send it to a professional grading service like the Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, NGC, or Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS. These companies will give your coin an official grade, which will help determine its true value. The market for rare and valuable coins is always changing, so if you're looking to sell your 1957 Lincoln wheat penny, it's important to stay up to date on current prices and trends. A coin that's worth $70,000 today could very well appreciate in value as more collectors become interested in it. And who knows, maybe your penny will be the next big find. So, before you toss that old change in your pocket, take a second to look closely at any 1957 Lincoln wheat pennies you have. You might just be sitting on a gold mine. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just starting out, coins like the 1957 Lincoln wheat penny are a reminder of the rich history behind American currency, and how something as simple as a penny can carry so much value. Today, we're diving into the fascinating world of the 1949 Lincoln wheat penny, a coin that might just be sitting in your collection or even in your pocket right now, waiting to be discovered as something worth a small fortune. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll learn exactly why this coin, minted back in 1949, is so valuable today and what makes it so sought after by collectors. Let's travel back in time to 1949. The world had just finished recovering from the Second World War, and the United States was entering an era of prosperity. The economy was growing, and so was the demand for coins. This is when the U.S. Mint struck the famous Lincoln wheat penny, a design that had been in circulation since 1909. At this point, the coin's iconic wheat stalks on the reverse had become a symbol of America's agrarian roots and its hard-working spirit. The Lincoln wheat penny, featuring the portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the front, was an essential part of everyday life, used in countless transactions across the country. But as the years went on, the design would eventually be replaced with the Lincoln Memorial reverse in 1959, making the Lincoln wheat penny a lasting part of U.S. history. Now, let's talk about why the 1949 penny is so special. The key lies in its rarity and the condition it's in. You see, most of the 1949 Lincoln wheat pennies were circulated heavily. They passed through countless hands, were used in everyday transactions, and as a result, they were worn down, scratched, and tarnished. But here's where it gets interesting. Finding one in pristine condition, particularly one that has been preserved without much wear and tear, is quite rare, and that's what makes this coin so valuable. If you have a 1949 Lincoln wheat penny in excellent condition, with minimal signs of wear, you've got a coin that could be worth quite a bit more than its face value. These well-preserved pennies, which are often referred to as uncirculated or mint state coins, are highly sought after by collectors. The better the condition, the higher the value. And if you have one that has been preserved in perfect condition, it could be worth thousands of dollars. Another factor that makes this penny particularly valuable is the mint mark. In 1949, pennies were minted in 3 locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. If you happen to have a 1949 penny that was minted in San Francisco, you're in for a real treat. The S mint mark on the coin signifies that it was produced in San Francisco, and these coins are much rarer than those minted in Philadelphia or Denver. Pennies with the S mint mark are often in higher demand and can command a premium price, especially if they are in excellent condition, but there's more. Some of the 1949 Lincoln wheat pennies have minting errors, and these can add even more value to the coin. Minting errors occur when the coins are struck incorrectly, leading to slight design variations, off-center strikes, double strikes, or other anomalies. These error coins are especially prized by collectors because they are unique and incredibly difficult to find. If you happen to have a 1949 penny with an error, it could be worth a significant amount more than a regular, error-free coin. So, what's the big question here? How much is your 1949 Lincoln wheat penny actually worth? If you're lucky enough to own one of these coins in pristine, uncirculated condition or one with a mint mark, your penny could be worth quite a bit more than you ever thought possible. In fact, depending on the condition, rarity, and any unique errors it may have, a 1949 Lincoln wheat penny could fetch up to $77,000. That's right, you heard it correctly, $77,000 for a single penny. It's mind-blowing to think that something as small and seemingly insignificant as a penny could hold so much value. This is a reminder that the world of coin collecting is full of surprises, and sometimes, the most unexpected finds can be worth far more than we ever imagined. Now, you might be asking, how do I know if my 1949 penny is worth that much? The answer is simple: get it graded. Professional coin grading services like the Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, NGC, or the Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, will carefully evaluate your coin and assign it a grade based on its condition. The higher the grade, the more valuable the coin becomes. If you're unsure about the value of your coin, getting it professionally graded is the best way to find out just how much it's worth. It's also worth noting that the market for rare coins can fluctuate. The value of your 1949 Lincoln wheat penny could increase over time as more collectors discover its rarity, or as fewer of them remain in excellent condition. Coin collecting is a long-term investment, and with coins like the 1949 Lincoln wheat penny, the potential for future appreciation is certainly possible. So, before you toss that penny in your jar of spare change, take a moment to check it out. It might be worth far more than you expect. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just getting started, a 1949 Lincoln wheat penny is a fascinating and valuable piece of American history that deserves a closer look. Who knows, you might be holding a $77,000 penny in your hand without even realizing it. Today, we're going to talk about the 1954 Lincoln wheat penny, a coin that might just be hiding in your collection or even mixed in with your spare change, worth far more than you might think. Stick with us, because by the end of this video, you'll discover just how much this little penny could be worth and why it has captured the attention of collectors and investors alike. Let's take a trip back in time to 1954. The United States was in the midst of the post-World War II boom, with the economy flourishing and life returning to a sense of normalcy. People were heading to work, kids were going to school, and the penny was still an essential part of daily life. It's hard to imagine today, but back then, pennies were used for everything from buying candy to paying for bus rides. The 1954 Lincoln wheat penny was part of the massive number of coins circulating the U.S., a staple in the pockets of Americans all over the country. Now, why is the 1954 Lincoln wheat penny so valuable today? At first glance, it might just seem like any other penny from the era, but as with many old coins, the value comes down to a few key factors: rarity, condition, and demand. First, let's talk about rarity. The U.S. Mint produced these pennies in large quantities, so you might think they're easy to find. However, the number of well-preserved examples has dwindled significantly over the years. Most of the 1954 pennies you come across today have been through countless transactions, collecting wear and tear along the way. But if you happen to have one that's been carefully kept and remains in pristine condition, you're holding onto a coin that can fetch a nice price. Now, what makes the 1954 Lincoln wheat penny so special, and why is it particularly attractive to collectors? One of the most significant aspects of this coin is its design. On the obverse, you'll find the familiar portrait of President Abraham Lincoln, one of the most revered figures in American history. The reverse side features the iconic wheat stalks, which gave the coin its nickname, the wheat penny. The design, which was first introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth, was a symbol of America's agrarian roots. The wheat stalks represent the country's agricultural economy, and even today, this imagery resonates with collectors who appreciate the historical significance of the coin. But it's not just the design that makes the 1954 penny valuable, it's also the mint mark that plays a role in determining its worth. In 1954, pennies were minted at 3 different locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The mint mark on the coin can tell you where it was struck. A coin minted in Philadelphia has no mint mark, while those struck in Denver carry a D mint mark, and coins from San Francisco feature an S mint mark. Collectors are particularly interested in finding coins with the San Francisco mint mark, as these tend to be rarer than those from the other mints. Now, let's talk about the condition of the coin. As we mentioned earlier, most of the 1954 pennies you'll find today have been heavily circulated. So, if you're lucky enough to find one that's in uncirculated or mint state condition, you're holding on to a potential treasure. Coins in these high grades are particularly desirable because they're much harder to come by. These pennies, which have been stored in perfect conditions or barely touched, are worth significantly more than those that show signs of wear. The better the condition, the higher the value. In fact, an uncirculated 1954 penny with the right mint mark could fetch thousands of dollars at auction, but here's the kicker: mint errors. Some 1954 Lincoln wheat pennies have imperfections due to mistakes during the minting process. Whether it's an off-center strike, a double die, or any other anomaly, error coins are highly sought after by collectors. These coins are not only unique but also valuable, as they're one-of-a-kind pieces that can't be replicated. If you have a 1954 penny with an error, whether it's minor or more significant, you've just found a rare gem that could increase in value dramatically. So, how much is a 1954 Lincoln wheat penny really worth? You're probably wondering if this small piece of copper can actually be worth anything substantial. Well, let's talk numbers. If you happen to have a 1954 Lincoln wheat penny in excellent condition, especially one with a mint mark from San Francisco or an error, you could be looking at a coin worth a significant amount. The value of a well-preserved penny from this year can easily go up into the thousands, and in some cases, depending on the specific features of the coin, you could be holding on to a penny worth $78,000. Yes, you heard it correctly, $78,000 for a single penny. It's incredible to think that a coin that was once worth just 1 cent could now be worth so much more. This just goes to show that the world of coin collecting is filled with surprises, and sometimes the most unexpected treasures can be hiding right under our noses. So, what should you do if you think you have a 1954 Lincoln wheat penny that could be worth big money? First, have it professionally graded by a trusted grading service like the Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, or the Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, NGC. A professional grade will give you an accurate assessment of your coin's value, which is crucial when selling or even just for your own peace of mind. If you're new to coin collecting or just starting out, the 1954 Lincoln wheat penny is a great example of how everyday coins can turn into valuable collectibles. Whether you're looking to buy, sell, or simply learn more about the world of rare coins, there's always something new to discover. Keep an eye on your change, because you never know when you might come across a hidden gem worth more than you ever imagined. So, what are you waiting for? Start digging through your collection or spare change, and who knows, you might just find a $78,000 penny. Today, we're going to explore a coin that may look humble at first glance but could actually be hiding a small fortune. Yes, we're talking about the 1958 Lincoln wheat penny with a mint mark that could make you stop and double-check your collection. If you've got one of these tucked away in a drawer, or maybe mixed in with your spare change, this could be the moment you've been waiting for. By the end of this video, you'll discover the surprising value of this penny, and who knows, maybe you've got one worth more than you imagined. To truly appreciate the value of the 1958 Lincoln wheat penny, we need to step back in time. The year was 1958, and the United States was in a post-World War II boom. The country was thriving in many ways, economically and socially. Families were living the American dream, and the economy was steadily growing. While the world was changing, everyday people were still relying on pennies to make small purchases in their daily lives. The 1958 Lincoln wheat penny was just another 1-cent piece circulating among the masses, but little did they know, this penny would be a key piece of history in the numismatic world decades later. Now, let's take a closer look at the coin itself. On the obverse, you'll find the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln, our 16th president, who is one of the most revered figures in American history. His image has been on the penny since 1909, and it's become an iconic part of the U.S. coinage. The reverse side of the 1958 penny features the classic wheat stalk design, which is where the coin gets its name, the wheat penny. This particular design, which was first introduced in 1909 to commemorate Lincoln's 100th birthday, remained in use until 1958, making it a significant part of American coinage history. But here's the twist: while these coins were produced in large numbers, not all of them are created equal. When we talk about the value of a coin, several factors come into play: rarity, condition, mint mark, and special features like minting errors. And in the case of the 1958 Lincoln wheat penny, all of these factors come together to make this seemingly ordinary coin much more valuable than most people realize. Let's begin with rarity. Although millions of these pennies were minted, time has taken its toll on most of them. The 1958 pennies that you find today are likely worn down from years of circulation, and many of them are in poor condition. But here's the kicker: there are still some that have managed to survive in near-perfect condition, and these are the coins that collectors are actively hunting for. The rarer the coin, the more valuable it becomes, especially if it's in excellent, uncirculated condition. Now, let's talk about the mint mark. If you look closely at the reverse of the coin, you'll see a small letter beneath the date, either a D, an S, or no mint mark at all. These mint marks indicate where the coin was struck: Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco. Of these, the coins minted in Denver are the most common, but the San Francisco mint mark is the one that collectors typically look for. Why? Well, because fewer coins were struck at the San Francisco mint that year, making them rarer and more desirable. Coins from this mint are generally worth more than those with other mint marks, but don't rule out a Denver or Philadelphia mint mark penny. There's still value to be found, especially if the coin is in excellent condition or has a unique feature point. One of the most exciting aspects of coin collecting is the potential for mint errors. Sometimes, during the minting process, coins don't get struck correctly. These errors can create extremely rare and highly valuable coins. If you happen to come across a 1958 Lincoln wheat penny with a double die or any other kind of error, you've stumbled upon a true treasure. Mint errors can dramatically increase the coin's value, sometimes pushing it into the tens of thousands of dollars. So, always keep an eye out for those little imperfections, because they could mean big money. So, how much is a 1958 Lincoln wheat penny worth today? If you've got one of these pennies in uncirculated condition, or if you've got a rare variant with a unique mint mark or a minting error, you're in luck. The value of these coins can vary significantly based on their condition and rarity, but a 1958 Lincoln wheat penny in excellent condition could fetch a few $100s or more. However, if you happen to own a particularly rare example, especially one with a minting error, the price could go up much higher. At the top end of the spectrum, a 1958 Lincoln wheat penny in pristine, uncirculated condition with a rare minting error could be worth an incredible $70,000. Yes, you heard that correctly, $70,000 for a single penny. It's truly mind-blowing to think that a coin that was once worth just 1 cent could now be worth so much. This is the magic of coin collecting, the thrill of discovering something extraordinary in something that seems so ordinary at first. That if you think you might have a 1958 Lincoln wheat penny that could be worth a lot of money, it's a good idea to have it professionally graded. A professional grading service like the Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, NGC, or the Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, can assess the coin's condition and give it a grade, which will help determine its value. Coins that are graded as mint state or uncirculated are the most valuable, so make sure to keep an eye on your coins and treat them with care. Coin collecting is a fascinating hobby that combines history, art, and the thrill of the hunt. A simple penny, like the 1958 Lincoln wheat penny, can hold so much more than its face value. The beauty of this hobby is that you never know what treasures you might find hidden in your change or your collection. So, the next time you come across a 1958 Lincoln wheat penny, take a moment to appreciate the history behind it and the possibility that you might just be holding on to a rare and valuable piece of American numismatic history. Thanks for watching today's video, and I hope you've learned something new about the 1958 Lincoln wheat penny. If you've got one of these pennies, you might want to take a closer look, because you could be sitting on a small fortune. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss any of our exciting coin discoveries. Until next time, happy collecting!